is up, guys? Punchy here. Welcome back to the third episode of the Punch Bowl. And this week I am joined by Nick, Andy, and Himmels. How y'all doing tonight, gentlemen?
I'm doing great. How about everyone else?
Doing very, very good.
Wonderful.
I'm chilling.
I know Andy's a little sick.
Yeah.
Sad face.
It's alright.
Yeah, he got the virus.
You got that Rona.
He got that virus, yeah. That's probably my fault because I had something definitely at the regionals this past weekend. Which, by the way, shout out Unmatched Gaming in Reading, Pennsylvania for holding one of the smoothest run events I've ever been to. It was nice and streamlined, very quick, very easy, and honestly just an enjoyable experience. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
I agree. It ran pretty smooth and had a lunch break, which is rare.
Yeah, it's unheard of.
Oh, yeah.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
You're struggling to go to the bathroom at those things.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
so, go ahead. Yeah, Nick, what was
nothing.
up?
I was just going to say it was like crazy how well run it was compared to like Lockhaven, for example. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Crap show.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of regionals, anyway, what do you guys think of the experience? It's my first regionals, at least, playing since Kashtira came onto the scene. This is my first regionals like in this meta. Which I picked up. I know last few weeks I was playing Labyrinth, but this past week I picked up Kashtira and I played it at the regional after only playtesting with the deck for about 20 minutes before the event. But I love the deck, and I'm having fun with the format, although it is a little it's like on the other end of the spectrum compared to Tier Elements.
It feels like there's something lacking.
I don't know. Yeah, it's like where's the powerhouse, you know?
I almost feel like with this format, every deck has some sort of cheese factor that they're winning by, if that makes sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, branded,
like I wouldn't Kashtira obviously doesn't need a zone lock to win, which is what I actually like about the deck. But Arise Heart's a crazy card that's like Macrocosmo plus Dryden in one card, crazy card. But that card's like fine-ish for the most part. But like Labyrinth, a lot of times it's like we're like cheating out a turn one Eradicator or D barrier to lock down the opponent, and then Branded could just like gimmick puppet you or Dragoon you, or they could Eradicator you. So I feel like it's like the format's like a couple cards away from being really, really fun, but there are a few cards that just make it not interactive at times.
There's a couple extremely toxic cards right now. Yeah. But I mean, there's always going to be something in the format that's like that. But I mean, other than that, I'm kind of enjoying the format. The problem is that like I just don't know exactly like the problem is figuring out a side deck. Like for instance, like my side deck from last week is going to be completely different from what I take to locals next time I go. Like it's just not going to be. I really just don't know what the side, because like at the regionals I played a bunch against Kashmirs, but I'm going to go to locals and I have no clue what people are going to be playing.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about this quite a bit, and I feel like I've talked about it with all you guys, I think, is it's so hard to prepare for a locals meta as compared to, like a regionals or YCS or Nats level, because whenever I'm theory crafting a deck, I'm theory crafting it for the top level of play. But when you go to a local event, you're obviously not going to see that. So like your side deck, like you said, is going to look completely different, and you have to kind of tailor it towards what you're going to see at your locals, which for ours, branded.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just all branded, which is like I'm fine with at this point, because I mean we have a friend who just kind of plays branded at a much higher level than anybody else really at our locals does. So playing against anybody else's branded but his just kind of feels like a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Yeah, you get like, of course, there's always people that are going to challenge you, but like, I just feel like I've learned the matchup now because he's been on that deck since
it came
Those
out.
crazy crucial
Yes.
choke points.
But I mean, Yu-Gi-Oh kind of gets that way. You learn how to kind of like solve a matchup,
For sure. But-
which the Kashtira matchup Brandon, we can just side shifter, which is crazy.
Mm-hmm. And it's
Gotta
like
love
Shifter's
Shifter.
really weird against Branded, right? Because it's like it's good, but it also isn't. It's good because it turns off like their Mirror Jade effect.
Mhm.
And it turns off some of the really extended combo lines, but they can still kind of play through it.
Mm-hmm.
At least like good Branded players can.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if your deck doesn't have like a game plan for when you get shifted in general, you're probably not in a good spot.
Mhm.
Yeah, my favorite Shifter plan is at least when I was playing Tier Elements was Baguska.
Yeah, I know Pap is starting to hate shifter now that he's playing Echuria Runic.
I don't think Shifter's like that overly common though, because I feel like only like maybe 33 to 50% of like cash players are playing Shifter.
Mm-hmm.
But granted, a Rise Heart is basically just Shifter, but it's Shifter that can be interacted with.
Yeah, you still got to deal with basically not having a graveyard against cash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know we were trying to get Nick and Austin their invites. Austin was pretty close. Austin bubbled.
Austin got 39th and top 32 got their invite, so very sad.
Yeah.
So sad.
Yeah, that does feel bad. Nick didn't quite get his. Nick, how did you feel about the experience? What was give us a little rundown on your regional
Sure.
day.
Yeah. I had a blast. I was in a similar boat to Jake where I picked up Cash pretty recently, and that was the first time I played it like in real life. Actually, like the first time playing in real life. So the transition from computer to physical cards is kind of weird with combo lines. But yeah, the whole day I had a blast. Even if I was losing, I still had a blast. I think I won, I forget if it was 3 or 4 games, and then I lost 4. So overall, I felt pretty good. I felt confident going into pretty much every deck, except for Eldritch right at the end. That was like a nice little cheesy deck for me to face. It was not fun.
You weren't ready for that.
I wasn't.
one.
Yeah, I was not ready.
Funny enough, the Eldritch guy Nick played against is the guy that I had bought my cash deck off of the day before.
Wait, really?
Yes.
I didn't know that. That's
Yeah.
really funny.
And he wasn't even like I traded Labyrinth for cash, and he wasn't even playing Labyrinth. He was playing Eldritch. He's like, I needed some time to figure out Labyrinth. I was like, interesting. I guess Eldritch was his deck of choice.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Nick probably would have been more prepared for Labyrinth.
I was actually prepared
yeah.
for Labyrinth.
So it's just kind of like, what are you going to do
Yeah.
about it?
Oh man,
Yeah.
I was gonna Royal Decree there. That lab deck.
Oh, dude, Nick, bro.
Oh my
I was
gosh.
watching Nick
Yeah,
play the
we gotta
cash
say
there,
the
like
Royal
round
Decree
4 or 5.
story in the mirror.
Bro, man, watching Nick drop a Royal Decree on some guys evenly matched was...
It felt amazing to see his eyes roll back as I was like, yeah, Royal Decree, sorry. And then he just scooped right after as I put game damage on.
That was game 3 too, right?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, yeah.
It was amazing.
That set was funny because I watched Nick. I beat my opponent really fast that round. So I had like 20 minutes. So I got to the high tail, like the end tail of like the second game, and I kept watching Nick outplay this guy. And he kept seeing like my face. I was kind of like, every time Nick outplayed him, I like visually reacted.
Oh no!
And so he was just probably like losing his spirit towards like the end of the game. And then when you dropped that
was like the
Decree, bro,
icing.
I couldn't even say. I had to leave. I was like,
That was the round after
I
our
let
lunch
them-
break, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
it felt
Yeah,
awesome.
that was when you came over. You watched my match too. I think at the very end, I had a funny match too. I played against a tier player and he went full combo for like 10 minutes, and I just sphere moded him.
Oh,
He
Ooh.
he was not happy, to say the least.
Yeah, that feels bad.
it is a feels bad moment.
For
But I
sure,
remember
for
walking
sure.
over after my match finished because mine was done pretty quickly too. I walked over to Nick's match, watched for a little bit, and I just saw he had like a royal decree in hand. And I walk over to talk to
Mhm.
some of our other friends, and 3 seconds later, Jake comes like jogging over, like, "Oh my god, Nick just royal decreed an evenly matched in the Kashmir."
It's like, how do you play around
I
Royal
know,
Decree,
I know.
man?
That's why I threw
in
it
the
in.
Kashmir too, right? Because it was the mirror.
Yeah,
right.
I
Yeah, it was
expected
the-
evenly matched all day, and I got there. I saw it at least like 12 times. It was insane how many people were
I
playing
didn't get
it
evenly one
and
time.
used it against me. It was insane.
Yeah, I can't remember getting evenly. Maybe once.
Wow, you guys
know.
are crazy.
No, I was getting kaiju.
Oh,
all the
never
time.
mind. You can have that one.
I had
You can have that one.
crossouts
Yeah.
ready
Jesus.
for evenly matched.
You gotta pick your
Yeah, I was
poison.
getting kaiju for hours.
Well, you can't play around the kaijus.
No,
So
Mask of Restrict,
there's
bro.
you just cannot play around the kaijus.
Yeah, so what am I supposed to just pass
Mask
my
of
turn?
Restrict,
Yeah,
come
no,
on.
no monsters playing around kaiju.
Draw 5 cards, pass turn.
when you brick and you just pass because you're playing around kaijus.
Oh. Overall, though,
Especially
yeah,
if
it
there's kaijus
was
in
a
the
great
main
day
deck.
for me. I learned the deck, and yeah, that was basically it for me.
What-
Yeah.
What were your matchups, Nick?
Trap tricks. I think 2 Kashmirs, and oh my god, Eldritch guy. I'm trying to think of. Oh, I did have to face Austin.
Yeah, you
that
played
was
Austin
3
round
mirrors
1.
then. So 3 mirrors. Yeah, Austin. That was awful. He opened the nuts against me, and I actually was still trying to like learn the deck a little bit. So I was like, okay, well, this is
learning on the fly.
not fun. But it was good. It was cool. I basically learned how to. I transferred that loss into like my next game, and that like kind of propelled me forward a little bit. And I still lost, but still.
It's all right. You learned, right?
Yeah, I don't remember the rest of the matchups. They weren't insane. But yeah.
Nice.
Cool. I think I ended up going 5-3, which I had the same record as Austin, so I bubbled too. I was just a little lower on the bubble. I was like 42 because I was originally 47, and then they messed up the standings and they bumped me up to 42, and I was like, oh great, I still bubble.
But that's a good thing because then you didn't have to fill out the sheet.
Yeah, I didn't have to refill out an invite sheet. But I went 5-3. I think I played 5 Kashmirs.
Jeez.
Which was funny because most of the knowledge I got, like most of the combo lines that I know now from Kash, were from watching my opponent do them to me in the mirror. and
Adapt.
and then I was just like, so that's how you do that. And then I would just do it back to him.
Your round 1 was funny.
My round 1, yeah, my round 1 was against Crystal Beast Kashtira.
Dude,
Shout out that dude.
I was so confused. I saw the Crystal Beast cards, and then I walked over and was like watching at the very end, and like there's like 2 minutes left in the round, and Jake's opponent goes set rotation. I go, okay. He goes, I'm gonna set Wraithsoth. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? Because I had only seen the Crystal Beast cards.
Well, my response to the whole like strategy was he was like setting Conclave and then realizing that when I had a Rise Heart or when he had a Rise Heart, he couldn't resolve Conclave because it has to send a graveyard.
Someone should have tested.
And so he was like, "Wait, this doesn't work under a Rise Heart." And I'm like, "Bro, we're in the round, bro."
You're at a regional.
But I think it must have been something like he must just not make a Rise Heart very often.
Yeah,
I don't know what it was. But
I'd assume that he's just using the Wraithsoth for the most part to get to like Fenrir and like for free extenders, but
yeah, he definitely had a lot of Kashtira cards in there though.
who knows?
But anyway, the day was fun. I had a lot of fun just playing. I definitely love Kashtira. Because it's cool because it could pivot in a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different strategies to go with the deck. You can go Zone Lock. You can go Rise Heart Pass. You can do like some weird hybrid. I just recently also started playing Baron. That adds to your end board a little bit. You can play hand traps. Now the one thing like Lance, Nick, maybe you can attest to this. I liked Lance when it was good. The problem that was that like I was getting kaiju'd all day, so like Lance was just kind of like just sitting on my board a lot of the time. What did you think about Lance?
I couldn't find copies of Lance or Eagle Booster, so I threw in just a ton of hand traps into my deck, and it worked.
You like those? Yeah,
I just didn't have
kind of where I
prosperity.
pivoted to. Is I kind of am going like hand traps over Lance.
Yeah.
I feel like Lance was really good earlier when there's a lot of trap decks, but I think Labyrinth is popular, but I think a lot of people are moving off of it because it suffers from all the same issues that trap decks always do, right? Where trap cards are broken, but back row removal is equally as broken.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like really, really hard to counteract all of the back row hate if people are ready for back row. Back row is always good when people aren't over preparing for it. But as soon as any back row deck that can play any sort of floodgate is meta, that people are ready for that. And it doesn't help that Evenly is just a really, really good card right now against like every deck, since decks aren't setting up a lot of Omnis.
Yeah.
So like kind of speaking to that, like Lance is probably it's probably not main deck worthy at this point, in my opinion.
That's the conclusion I have pretty much arrived at, is that it's not doing enough anymore.
I never get it to. It's either I never get it to resolve, or it just sits dead, like you were saying. Or if it does resolve, I'm like, okay, cool. I get to like limp along a little bit. I'd rather just see an extender or something else to push me, or a hand trap, anything.
Well, because it's like this. It's like if everyone's on kaijus, you have to sort of extend past a Rise Heart Pass, right? Or else you lose the game. So at that point, you extend past a Rise Heart Pass. You go, let's say you set up like Shangri-Ira, Diablosis, Fenrir, Rise Heart with like preparation set or something. Like you really don't want Forbidden Lance in that instance, because like what they're going to evenly and what you're going to lance for one.
Yeah.
It
And
doesn't
like,
e-
and
it
then
won't
what
even
you're just
save
banishing
anything.
anyway.
Bad.
Like, yeah,
Your
it's
lance
like,
doesn't
or
save anything,
like you're not getting any value out of that.
Yeah.
They could activate anything, and it's like you're lancing for a card.
I think Cash is in a weird spot where it's like you said, if people are main decking kaijus, a Rise Heart Pass isn't very good. But if you're forced to extend past that and people know that, then Nib becomes infinitely better. Then you just like auto list a Nib. So it's like,
Yeah, it's scary.
it's you.
That's exactly why I'm playing Baron right now. I'm trying to just like,
Here's what, and I think this might be seen as probably the correct way. I played against Shinping Zhu round 1, right? So for those of you who don't know, he has like multiple premier tops. He's won a YCS. He's playing the Brave variant of Kashtira.
yeah, I saw that.
And I think that version is like very, very good, because it's like it helps protect you from Evenly, it helps protect you from Nib. It makes it so like even if you go Griffin Rider plus like a Rise Heart with follow up, it's like even if your a Rise Heart gets like kaiju'd or something, you still are able to like interact with your opponent a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice, and you get free follow up as well. He was also playing a bunch of hand traps, so it's like Brave Engine, hand traps, and Kashtira.
That sounds fun.
So I think that's pretty good. But I think we'll see more of that, or like you said, Baron more.
By the end of the day, how did he end up doing?
Like 19th or something.
Jeez.
19th or 20, somewhere between like 19 and 25.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I think he went X2. So
I really think at this point it's kind of I think, because here's the thing, you can't really stop playing cards for Kashtira, because if you aren't prepared for them at all, they will just beat you.
Yep.
yeah, exactly. It's like
so
a cat
I'm kind
and
of
mouse
just
game.
waiting to see where it stabilizes. Like eventually people are like, okay, we just main deck these cards and side deck these ones, and that'll just kind of help prepare. I think our lists for YCS, upcoming regionals, stuff like that.
I might want to
And,
try
like-
out the adventure one, because that sounds really good.
It looks cool. It's very good, and
Yeah.
the adventure wants good at breaking boards too because Dracobeck's
Mm-hmm.
crazy, and you could also play like Illegal Knight, which is pretty
Yeah.
good because the other nice thing is Griffin Rider and like Illegal Knight aren't bad to draw because they are level 7s that spec themselves
Yeah.
for
Those
free.
free extenders.
That's cool. That sounds really cool.
They're free extenders, and you can even just normal summon them off birth.
Which is really funny.
Yeah, that should
actually.
we should Jake. We're gonna need a cook, dude. Back to the
You can
kitchens.
also like, yeah, I think you've got like, I don't know. I think I personally love Illegal Knight in Brave. Like if I'm playing Brave, I'm playing Illegal Knight because I just love that it's like a free going second card. At like you run 10 copies, but you only run one. You know what I mean?
Cards
It's
so
It
so
just
cool.
bounce
awesome.
to your opponent's cards, yeah.
Yeah, I just bounced to like, here you go. Here you have this Illegal Knight.
Yeah, but I feel like by way of like how the meta's going, like you said, if people just main deck kaijus, you can't really Arise Heart Pass anymore, and then you have to play
Yeah.
into Nib. So I think people Brave is a way to help play around the Nibiru that if people that because people could just start playing kaijus plus Nibiru, and then it's like,
Yep.
oh, okay, that's really bad for me.
Mhm.
Or bad for me if you're a Kashtira player, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you need kind of a way to counteract that, and like you said, either Baron or the Brave Engine are probably the best way to deal with it. So I think we'll start
Yeah.
seeing some really interesting variants of Kashtira soon.
That
and
sounds
I've
sweet.
seen even people playing cross out lately, which I don't like.
I think
Personally?
crossout's crazy right now in certain decks. The thing that
I
sucks
think
about
the
crossout,
problem in Kashtira is if you're playing crossout, you're saying, okay, I'm playing crossout for cards like Nib, Evenly, Book of Eclipse, stuff like that. And the problem is to play into Nib and all that stuff, like you have to have crazy hand. Like you have to have like full combo plus crossout.
Mhm.
It's like I don't
It's unlikely.
like I'm not drawing that
Yeah.
hand it's just not going to happen. And at that point it's like by the time you like played into Nib with crossout, by the time you go end phase, you have to hold it in your hand for the Nib. And if they don't have Nib, then you've went end phase because you don't want to play in a Nib, you didn't get to set the card, and then they just evenly you, and then like your crossout's not on the field because you had to hold it for Nib.
yeah,
I
I don't
just
really
feels
like
so
getting
bad,
combo
I think.
decks because it, like you said, it also takes up a lot of space in the deck because you have to play the crossouts, then you have to also play the cards that you're going to cross out.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
if you draw one of those cards, it's really really bad for you. If like if you draw that card and no crossout, it's not always bad. Like drawing Nip's fine, but
Right.
it's like it's not always ideal. I played crossout in Labyrinth this weekend and it overperformed there. But like that just all I had to do is see crossout and like any combination of trap cards and it was fine. It's not
Yeah,
like I have
that
to
makes
combo.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I don't know. I think crossout's interesting, but it's like it's the issue. It's the same issue it's always had for combo decks, in that you have to play way too many like cards that don't contribute to your combo in order to make it playable. And then you could, like you said, you could still just lose to something like the kind of the dichotomy of, oh, if I set this for evenly and they nib me, I lose. But if I hold this in hand and then they evenly me, I lose.
Yeah, and it still just loses to kaijus because it's like, what are you gonna guess that they're running Gamma Seal?
You just gotta
It's
know,
like-
dude.
Yeah. And it's you can't even, you literally can't even cross that out. It's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it for cash, but like you said, in trap decks it makes a little more sense.
Or like any control variant, any control deck, I think it makes some sense as long as you like have the space to play it.
Yeah. I do like the Runic Nishuria deck right now too. I've been watching our buddy Alex Buell test it a lot. And the deck is just crazy.
It looks
Cam
so
played
scary.
it. Cam got his invite this weekend with it. The deck is just insane, truly.
It's
I
terrifying.
think we're gonna see a runic hit soon. I think the runic cards are like so insane. At least like the
I think the
recursion of
runic cards are
them.
very
Like
powerful.
Fountain is so crazy, especially like
Mhm.
the fact that it's a soft once per turn and they can play like this version plays more than one of them. Obviously, like the runic sprite version only played one fountain, but like the Naturia version just plays so many runic cards that you could play like 3 fountain and you could resolve 2 of them in one turn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. And also, like, shout out to Sprite is actually still so good right now. But like, not the runic version. Weirdly enough,
What variant?
it's just kind of like if pure Sprite, if you want to call it that. It's just Sprite with like you play the Nimble package. And I know Ding is playing
He's playing the Melfi stuff, right?
the Melfi stuff. Yeah, it's like 2 or 3
I
cards.
faced Trent
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, it's only like 2 or 3 cards, but
It
it's
was
enough.
sweet.
And then the thing with Sprite, it's always been you can run so much non-engine.
I think the issue with Sprite, and it's kind of what I think we've touched on this a couple times, is its turn 1 boards are still insane.
Yeah,
Like if you win die roll and you set up your turn 1 board, if they can't break your board, you just win. The issue is people are playing like hard board breakers right now, like kaijus and like sphere modes and lava golems and stuff. And if they break your board, you have no easy way to follow up on that. And then you just like, it feels really bad if your opponent just goes, "Hey, here's a lava golem, set 5 pass," and then you just kind of lose, or set 4 pass and then you just lose.
Yep.
Or like lava golem special summon unicorn. Feels bad. Feels bad moment there. But
Definitely.
I think the deck is still very strong and competitive. Maybe Andy can attest a little bit to that. I know Andy played he played Runic Sprite this weekend, right?
Yeah. Runic Sprite. Well, I would say like I'm glad everyone else had a really good time. I unfortunately had to go through the Iron Gauntlet.
Andy played all of our friends.
And not just like friends. These were really good friends. Shout out to Jake Taylor getting 5th at the Unmatched Regionals, bro. That was crazy. I didn't even know.
Yes, sir.
I went against round 1 with Motter, who was playing. He's our branded player. He was so mad too.
Yes.
What was it? Round 3. We tied, unfortunately, but I would have actually won the game if I knew how to, if I had a battle phase. Because I Ibleed him. I Ibleed D-Barrier and then eradicated him.
Oh.
But he crossed out the Eradicator.
Bro, you didn't have to do all that, man.
Andy,
Oh my god.
how do you open that? Oh my god.
It was a really funny hand. My hand couldn't have been more broken. It was just like I opened Modern noticed it too. I opened tip all 3 games.
Yeah, that checks out.
insane.
The hand
out.
was like tip, Eradicator, blue, starter, and like trap trick. So like
Jeez,
I just
dude.
kind of
That hand is insane.
How do you? How? You need to teach me how to shuffle, man.
Yeah, well, you need to teach me as well, man.
Master
So we
class.
tied. After that, I went against Jake Taylor. Jake Taylor's a really good player. He was the one who actually helped me a lot with the deck. So when I went against him, he was like, "I know every card in your deck," and I was like, "Yeah, man." I unfortunately didn't play around the Droll and Lockbird, which I will have to do because Droll and Lockbird will be a very popular card that will be in the side deck or in the main, depending on if you're playing with Kashtira or not. Droll is absolutely broken.
To be fair, I don't really know how your deck plays around Droll. I think people are playing Droll because
Yeah,
of
you
like
can't
runic
really.
variants.
No,
It's hard to play around Droll. You kind of
Well-
just have to like draw into a hand that plays around Droll.
I could have just went, I went standby, and then he looked at me. Jake Taylor said, he was like, "You went standby?" I went, "Oh," and then he thought I was gonna be real smart with it and play around Joel, and then I went main phase, and he was like, "No," and then he dropped the Joel on me.
I guess you could. Yeah, I guess you could activate like starter
I had
and
tip.
your runic cards in the
Yeah,
draw phase, and that's
everything
about
being
as much as you
quick
can
plays.
do.
It's still that's
Yeah,
pretty
because
good
Droll's only
though.
main
But-
phase, right? So you could do all of your adding before main phase, and then like the only main phase add or draw you're doing is off your fountain.
But
guess.
Yeah, so I guess I spoke out of.
what
place there.
I feel like the most difficult part of the deck is that yes, Runic in itself is really good, and the fact that Hugin's level 2 helps a lot with the sprite engine in order for it to get going. The only issue is that you will always you'll never get your battle phase. and then you're never putting in hand traps, which it really really hurts now because of Kashtira. Like I understand, like we have um cards in the runic core that allow you to either destroy a special summon monster or destroy like an MST something, um or a negate like an imperm for spells. But at the end of the day, I feel like I'd rather would just see hand traps and then like see like part of my engine. Like I don't have to rely on, like, say if I open up all like Sprite, then it's not like, okay, I guess I'm not playing with the runic engine. That was like one of the biggest things I had an issue with. Um Also, like there would be times where I went against trap tricks and like I feel like my board was very impactful. Um but I would like go all out with them, and then they just make Spriggans and stack it on top of something else, and they just make Zeus, and then I lose. Um, so I had a rough time, but I did learn a lot. I still love Sprite. I've been watching a lot more on Sprite variants with all kinds of people that I've seen. I have seen the Melfi version, and I've seen a lot of people play it and had great success with it. However, I just saw a list for Evil Twin, which I was playing that beforehand. And I do feel like that deck of Evil Twin, what has a better impact than Runic does is that like it involves hand traps. You can literally, your hand is like a 1-card combo with one of the live twins. And if you have like a live twin plus blue, like you're off to the races. Like there's really nothing they can stop you with. But there are also just like ways to play around a lot of the cards. Especially like figuring out that live twin cards, all of like the little live twins, the main starters, are level 2 cybers. So you can normal summon them, go full out with your combo, and before you even go into your like links, you can make Ling Grebo to protect yourself from like an impermanent evenly match during your opponent's turn. And I find that to be really really cool. So I'm trying that out for now, until we get ready for the next set in Cyberstone Access when Purely comes out. I'm very excited for that. But as of right now, I still love Sprite. I'm taking it, learning one step at a time, and definitely like it's just like a learning experience at the end of the day, especially in the regionals. But yeah.
It sucks, man.
What's up?
You'll never get to play with Sprite Elf. The elfless Sprite, man.
Yeah, I'd do them like that.
Yeah.
Wait, Andy, didn't you play with Elf when you played Tier Elements, or no?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, he played with
that
Elf,
it?
just not
I
in
played
Sprite.
Yeah, I played it with PK tier, because you can make Elf, and then the arrow would be pointing down Rusty, so they couldn't target it.
Which, by the way, we were just talking about, like, low-key, PK right now, being able to make Ophion on top of their, like, end board is actually, like, not bad at all. Like, locking both Kashtira out of the game, Branded, they can't summon, if you're playing against Sword Soul. Naturia can't make, like, any of their, like, synchros.
What's Ophion say again?
Bye-bye, Nap Beast. What?
What's Ophion say again?
Your opponent cannot summon level 5 or higher monsters, or maybe both players, but you're not doing that.
It's good against
PK
Labyrinth
either,
too.
Yep, great against Labyrinth. It's just like a strong card right now. Ophion is, and being able to make it on top of, like, we were talking about how if you're playing Ophion, you're definitely playing the PK line where you make like Appaloosa Draco Future, because you have to play around like cards like Nib and stuff. And then you have your double Fogblade plus like Ophion. You're just like Your board's just like kind of stacked up, like, but it's like that's always PK, isn't it? Like you go first.
Yeah, you go
and
first and you win.
tail
right?
your combo to beat the meta. And
Oh, Opion is a lingering. It's like it says while this card has Xyz material. It's not even like a detach. It's just like if it has material.
Yeah, they can't
yeah,
be special.
and you can
summon.
add the infestation spell to protect it from cards like Evenly.
That's
and Book of
funny.
Moon and stuff like that.
It plays
Yeah.
around Kaiju's too.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
funny.
Oh my god, I didn't even think about
And
it like
Lava
that.
Golem.
Yeah, like low key, that's crazy.
I
I'm
might-
testing that.
I
I'm
might,
t-
I
I'm
might
testing
cook it
that.
up, bro. I have the core right here.
Ah man, that's so sweet. Andy, we're working on a build for that for sure.
All right.
How do you make Ophion in PK again?
You use the rank
Torn
up.
scales
Yeah,
or
I,
rank
the
I,
up.
rank up
I
spell.
feel like it has to be the rank up spell. Yeah. Okay,
Yep.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
There's so
'cause
many
it's-
rank up spells. I can never remember which one is.
which is cool
it
because like it circles back to Nats last year when Brave PK was like the quote unquote like deck, and the some player in Europe I think was topping a lot with PK, and he was playing the Ophion package for a while because it was shutting down Brave, it was shutting down Sword Soul, it was shutting down just a lot of cards, and like there's even more decks now that just kind of takes care of.
I love PK.
It's
Oh, we know.
terrifying.
love PK. Burger King.
Burger King.
So what do you guys think the best deck is right now? Like in this sort of undefined limbo-esque
I mean, it's
moment of the format.
It's just Kashtira right
It's
now.
definitely Kashtira.
I agree.
I do feel like in cases where like see like where they said branded was going to be up there, I'm sorry to say I don't think branded is that great.
I think it's.
I also don't think Branded's tier 1 at the moment.
I feel like it's a deck where if the way that I heard DB Grinder talking about it was like in a single, like say like if you're playing in a regionals, like you're hoping your opponent doesn't open up Ash like basically every game, or if you're going first or say you're going second, you're hoping your opponent doesn't open up D barrier, which 75 to almost 80 if not 100% of the room is going to be playing Ash and D barrier.
Mhm.
And then that's just even then hoping they don't open any of those, which again that's such a high probability that it's gonna happen. So
Mhm.
And the problem too is that the cards that you're running, like for the meta, like Ash, D Barrier, Branded just gets hit so much harder by those cards than all the other decks.
I definitely I feel like it's a deck that when it was under the radar, it was a really good deck. Like in the tier format we had, Branded was really good.
Yeah, because they could play all those Bestials. It was
Exactly.
just crapping on tier.
And the Bestials even work with the Branded with
But right
Serenade
now, you're kind of just hoping that Branded Fusion like
goes through.
breaks the board or wins the game. Yeah.
Or
When
you
you
see
try
cross
to yeah.
Yeah.
That deck can play cross out, which
It
is
can
really
play
good.
cross
For
out. I just find it funny when like you try to bait your opponent, like normal summon Aliber, search for Lost, and then you're just hoping that they don't have Ash.
It
You
feels
activate
bad.
Lost, you activate Fusion, and then it's just Ash, and you're like, well.
I will say after Cyberstorm Access, I think Branded, as always, gets
Branded gets all the support, man.
Branded is the new elemental heroes.
I
dude.
feel like they're good.
We're never gonna see the end of that godforsaken deck.
The deck is just gonna have an endless lore that people are gonna love.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah.
It's something about those like fusion decks where people just let it sink into their skin, dude. They can't get enough of it. It's all they want to play.
I want Dark Law.
Modern.
Dark Law. Dark Law.
I would have
Dark Law.
rather they given all the support to tier. Not
Me too.
biased, not biased, not biased. of
Not
course.
biased.
Not even a little bit.
I do feel like there are good rogue decks. I feel like even like I should even talk about rogue decks. I should be like talking in like the 1.5 tier 1 area,
Dude, I think everything's playable right now, low-key.
which is really cool.
We're in a meta where like Rogue is like playable right now.
It's cool, but it also sucks, and it's the argument
Yeah.
that you hear a lot of the time from like really from high level players is, and Jake mentioned this kind of a little bit earlier, but like we didn't go into too much detail. Is when you have, 5 or 10 decks, like between 7 and 10 decks that are super playable and decently well represented. it makes siding, like building your side deck, really, really difficult.
Yes.
Like it's almost impossible to side because you can't side for everything when you have like 7 to 10 decks that are all around the same power level and very playable.
Which, when you're going to like regionals, nationals, YCS, that's like not. It's just annoying for no reason. Like,
yeah, like
not being able to
sometimes you just have
prepare
to-
for every round is really frustrating.
like you're preparing for back row, labyrinth,
Mhm.
or back row and labyrinth are one and the same. I meant like back row decks, Kashtira, and like branded, and that's probably probably the 3 decks that you're preparing for. But if you play something where your side deck cards don't do anything to those, where your
Like
side deck cards
Striker.
don't do anything, you basically handshake that matchup.
Yeah, like I feel like if I went against Striker at like the YCS, it's just gonna be a free round
Like if
for
you
him
get if
I
you go
if I
against
don't win the
blind
die
second
roll.
Sky Striker, you probably lose low key
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're not
and
ready
it's just
for it. Because
basically
if
you're
you go
waiting
first, you win.
for him to brick.
It
If you
kind
go
of
first and you 5 zone lock them, you win. But like
Yeah.
you have to 5 zone lock them because a Rise Heart Pass doesn't do anything against that deck.
So
Yep.
it reminds me because like I'm now realizing it too. Like I was a person who would say like, oh, I like a different variety in a format, but I understand now when it's like you have to like 15 cards isn't a lot, and then
No, it's
No.
not.
it's not.
No,
I wish 15. I wish I could extend it to 20, and it'd probably be a lot better. But to be honest, 15 can you only put so much in, and it's like. Also, like looking at a YCS, like there's just so much to look out for where it's like you don't know what could be like the top dog to beat like Kashtira. Like we've seen like in the YCS, what was it, Puerto Rico? Or what was the last one that happened just recently?
Lima.
Was it Adventure Sprite?
It was
that
2
topped
Adventure Sprites in the mirror, and we had a Salamangrate in top 4.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
Salad for some reason is coming up again, but it's just like
It's not, but it's like people
it's
aren't
not,
ready for
but
that deck.
no one was ready for it.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't know how I feel about like I personally enjoy certain matchups. Like I feel like there are certain decks that I love to play against and I love to play. But like if I go against like an Owlich player, like I'm just sick.
Yeah.
I'm just not having the greatest
And I think
time, man.
Not fun.
I think that's like, and now you're kind of seeing why there was that dichotomy where like a lot of people were like, no, I do love this tier 0 tier limit format right now.
Yeah.
Where it's like you have one definitive best deck, and then you know what the next best decks are right behind it.
Exactly.
It made it like you know what you're preparing for, and like it made the like big events feel a lot less RNG almost, because sometimes you'll just go into a matchup and you're like, okay, I was not ready to play this deck at all, and I have nothing prepared for it, so I lost. If that happens once in a tournament as an outlier, sure, whatever. But when you when you have like a lot of decks and like in a 10-round event, it could happen to you like 3 or 4 times, like, and it wouldn't be that surprising. And then that just feels really bad because you're like, I had no reason to put side deck cards in for X deck. Like one of the best examples I think I have, well, the Salamangrate one's a decent example, but also like Marinsis has gotten a lot of regional tops recently because no one's ready for that. No one's ready for that deck, and that deck could just jam in like 15 different tech cards, kind of like Sprite can. And it's like, oh, I wasn't expecting to see this, so I don't have anything like fully prepped for this deck.
Yeah.
But it's
While that's like, you know, tier 0 having a side deck is nice. It's like it's cool that like you know what your side deck's gonna be, you know what your main deck's gonna be. But that's the problem with it, isn't it? Like your deck building is not a huge integral part of the format now. But now we're in a format where pretty much anything goes. So deck building is a huge part of the strategy at the moment. It's so much more important right now than it was last format.
I know.
Which
I do like
I'm a
that.
Fan of.
Deck building's my
I'm a
favorite
fan
part
of
the game.
yeah, and that's so if you like you know you go to an event where you're like you're sure that your list is perfect and you just lose, your list wasn't perfect, you know, which is cool, but
I find myself switching cards out every single time I test. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll
Yep.
play this, and I'll play 2 or 3 rounds of testing, and I'll be like, okay, this card's really underperforming in matchups X, Y, and Z. I'm gonna test this instead and see how it is. Or in theory, this card's really good, but like mathematically, if this deck doesn't end on this card, then this card is very dead. So I'd rather play something more live.
But it's like I've never played in toss format, so I don't know what it is, to see like we don't have a deck that sort of like counters the main deck, which is Kashtira. In tier, I don't even think we had a deck that countered tier elements.
Yeah, it was D Shifter.
Yeah.
The main monster D Shifter. But like I understand now. Like it's slowly like coming. Like I'm slowly getting it as like getting competitively like in there. But like definitely having 1 or 2, even 3 decks like to be on the top makes more sense than having like 10 different players being like, oh yeah, I topped with Abyss Actors, bro.
Yeah, it's like if someone played Abyss Actors against me, I wouldn't know I wouldn't know what the cards did, so I'd probably lose.
I don't know a single one of those cards. Yeah.
I would honestly, I'd just lose, and I'd question them and be like, how in the world are you even playing Pendulum when Kashtira exists?
But it doesn't mean that like underdogs, Plunder Patrol is another deck that we're seeing that Plunder Runic is really good, and it's more prevalent now because of just like being able to play. Well, first off, they got new cards that allow you to change the attributes, but also just like playing with a Runic as well. I mean, Runic, like you're saying, Runic, I think there has to be a point where one of those cards either tip or Fountain needs to get hit.
Yeah.
It'll probably just be a Fountain limit, and that's like fine. The deck's still super like the Runic engine's fine with 1 Fountain. That's not like hurting anything. It's just gonna hurt a little bit of your turn 1 consistency, and it makes hitting Hugin a lot better.
Yeah, I agree. I will say, if you want to play some weird decks, now's the time, because I am excited for when Cyberstorm Access comes out, because we get introduced to Mana Dome, which I don't think is going to be insane off the rip. But
I've heard people saying the opposite. I've heard people saying Mana Dome's going to be insane.
Me and Nick, while we were waiting for you guys,
it might be. I haven't tested.
Me and Nick were playing.
It could be. It could not be. But the point is, once Cyberstorm Access drops, we're going to see the meta get defined. It's kind of just how like the cyclical nature.
Yeah, we're going to see Brandon be really popular.
We're going to see a triangle of branded Kashtira and Mana Dome for a while. And Purely's probably going to be up in that mix, and then you got your sprites, and then you got it's probably going to be like a little bit of a triangle, if I'm guessing.
I'm down for that. That sounds fun. I haven't looked.
I do like triangle
Dome.
formats.
If I like Mana Dome, I might pick that deck up when it comes out. If not, I'll probably end up having to switch to like Kashtira or something for Nats, because I need like for Nats. I'm last year I kind of trolled at Nats. I was like, I'm gonna play Sky Striker because I wanted to, and you could say Striker got second, right? So you say, oh, that's not actually trolling. I hadn't played Striker in like 2 months prior to that.
Yeah.
So I just was like, I'm gonna play it, so I did.
You're coming off on break.
This Nats actually has some weight to it, though.
The last one was like, watch. I mean, there's always weight to Nats, right? But like this one has a little bit more weight, I think, because there's no Worlds last year. This year there is.
Exactly.
So there's
and there's going to be
a little bit more weight to it.
Crap load of people at Nats this year.
I was gonna say,
there was a lot last year,
people are going to be there.
There were so many last year. We had like I don't remember, 2,700 last year, I think. It was ridiculous.
So insane, man. And yo, shout out to it being East Coast. Like,
yeah, that's gonna be super nice. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The boys about to be in a nice Airbnb.
Yes, sir.
Sheesh. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah, but seeing how the meta, I hope we get a list like right after Cyberstorm Access comes out.
Yeah.
And that's just what we're playing from early May through Nats, which is June 4th, right? July 7th.
It drops the day of the
I can't with a list. I can't even imagine they do too much drastic things besides really hit non-engine cards. Like,
it's gonna be the generically good cards. I'd be happy to see a D barrier hit.
D barrier, D shifter.
I'd be happy
I
to
have
see
a
skill
random
drain
card
hit.
question.
Skill
I think
drain,
I saw a lot of people going back and forth on it. Would you guys ever limit evenly matched?
No.
it's too good of a
It's
card.
it's
it's
a
too-
format dependent board breaker, right?
That, and it's too easy of a board breaker to play around. A trap card is so easy to stop and put into your combo.
That is fair.
There's a bigger argument for hitting something like a Dark Ruler no more or a Forbidden Droplet because those cards say you can't respond.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Speaking of the card that I do want to see hit at least
Super
the one
Poly.
is Super Poly.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Super Poly is so good again. Like people are sleeping on that.
That card is
too.
so insane. That's
It kind of
that's
just
the
breaks
reason I
every board
lost
at
to
the
Modder,
moment.
actually, was Super Poly.
Yo, Himmels wants MST, man. Tell him about that.
Oh my god, I lost to like, it could have been any quick play spell or trap removal, but I lost. Granted, this last round was kind of whatever. I didn't actually. I wanted to drop the round before because at that point I couldn't get top 8. I was 4-1-1 going into round 7 where I played our friend Modder. I lost game 3. I impermed his Albert. He passed. I evenlyed him. He kept his Super Poly, and I lost to normal summon Cartesia into Super Poly. Because my cards are all dark and I can't play around that.
Right.
Whatever, I lost that one. So I'm like, okay, mathematically I can't make top 8 now. I'm like, I wanted to drop, and Modder's like, no, keep playing because I have a chance at top 8. I'm like, all right, sure. So I play the last round. I go up against Sky Striker. Game 1, I have a play to try to Eradicator him. I have an Eradicator combo, and he MSTs, so I can't get to it. So I lost that game because I had activated effect, and that he goes. He has like 2 cards left in hand. He goes, I'm gonna go. Oh no, he has a few cards. He has like 2 cards left in hand, and he has a Striker Engine online, and he goes, whatever, I'll add back the Engage, draw a card, activate Thrust, add Desires, draw 2 more cards, and I lost that game because I get out-resourced.
Pot of Desires.
Yeah, that feels bad right there.
Jeez.
Whatever, it happens. I figured I was going to lose that game after that. Game 2, we get back and forth, like not seeing Engine. Well, I see Engine. He goes normal summon Ray, I Judgment it, and then whatever, I swing for a little bit of damage. Game 2, or not game 2. Next turn, I'm able to. I draw into a card that lets me set up a Kuklok Eradicator play, and he goes whatever. I do it in his standby phase because he has. I know he before. I'm like, okay, he didn't hit any of my back row, so he probably doesn't have MST because I only had like 1 or 2 back row prior. Because I feel like most Labyrinth cards are, especially after I fired off like a welcome and a big welcome, it's like everything's reactive from that point, so it's just good to hit the back row.
Yeah.
He goes, or I go like standby phase. I do Kuklok combo basically, so I have Lady, and I go Chainlink 1, big welcome, and he's like, I'm like, any response? He says no. I go, okay, cool, I should be in the clear. I go Chainlink 2, Lady, set Eradicator, grab Kuklok, bounce back Kuklok, and then I go Lovely Effect to rip a card out of his hand. He doesn't chain anything here either, so I'm like, there's no way he has an MST. I hit a Royal Decree out of his hand.
Oh my god.
Which is whatever. At that point, I probably would have won because I would have had Big Welcome in the graveyard. I would,
Right.
and then I go Resolution. I'm gonna activate Kuklok. He's like, "What's that do?" I go, "Lets me activate a trap card. The turn it was set when I have a Fiend monster or when I have a Labyrinth monster in my field." He goes, "Can I chain MST to that?" I'm like, "And would it like pop your Eradicator?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, I'm gonna chain MST. I'm like. I'm
He didn't
thinking to
even know what
myself,
he
there
was
is
doing.
no way you held MST this long, dude. There is
Getting rewarded for ignorance.
there is no
so
way
bad.
you held MST through the lovely pop in the hand because he had nothing on field through like 2 turns. So he had to have drawn it off the top and just not chained it to like any of my effects, which is insane.
He was gripping that Misty, dude.
So I lost that game.
All right, guys. Well, we're gonna cut things off here. Try to wrap things up. So I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, give us the kissy faces in the comments. And again, we appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned for more podcast episodes and more content coming in the future. Until then, see you later.